Hey everybody. Now you might see on top of the video here, in some ways it'll say that several new fans have popped out, if you will, in the past, have been popping out of the woodworks lately to kind of show the disdain for a certain head writer on the Sunday Show comic book, and I think we all know who that is. Now, these two new people join the likes of LaserX5, Jonathan83X, Tross, Miko, XX, Red Menace, I believe, Blue, Real RNAO, I believe, not totally sure, Game Boy Sage, most definitely, maybe perhaps J Foxfire and Bring on the Thunder, among many others, if you will. Well, not many others, but along with others. These two newer ones, who can be found, believe it or not, they could, just like Game Boy Sage and J Foxfire, they can primarily be found at Deviantart, or DA, the critically acclaimed, I guess you could say, fan art and artistic website on the internet, which allows you to upload your art, or fan art if you will, on there with your account, whether as a premium or free account. Now, one fan is by the name of Archie Sonic Luz. That's right, this is Archie Sonic Luz. This is his email. This is his, not his email, but his journal that he posted recently, Archie Sonic Luz. And he entitled his journal, as you can probably see here, he entitled it "Spreading the Word About Archie Sonic's Nonsense." And this is basically what he means, and I quote, first of all, this is what Archie Sonic Luz mentions in his journal, and I quote, first of all, he puts in a link to the Other M webcomic that can be obviously found in a zip file on Mediafire, I believe. But then he goes on to say, and again this is Archie Sonic Luz, he goes on to say, and I quote, "Unless you're a die-hard Ian Flynn supporter, I think most Sonic fans understand by now there's something very wrong with the story currently going on in Archie Sonic. Where do I start?" he asked. First of all, what is up with the Sally hammering going on now by the Archie staff? I mean, didn't Ian claim a while ago that he liked the character? And yet, since 225, and he numbers this, as you can see here, he numbers this, right here, he numbers it. He has, 1, had her blown away with a torrent gun, read Ian, and he puts in parentheses, read Ian's email, if you don't believe me, the email that he exchanged with Game Boy Sage. 2, made her sacrifice herself in one of the most ridiculous and contrived ways possible. And again, in parentheses, he goes, seriously, Sally being that content? He asked the question basically, seriously, in parentheses, he asked the question, seriously, Sally being that content to turn the beam on herself? Who does that without some form of fear or hesitation? In other words, he's asking who would do something like that without worrying or having some kind of fear that they may never return to normal, they possibly may never be themselves again. And how can anybody be that content? You know, and I probably have to agree, there's some kind of logic, there's some kind of unlogicness to that. And then number 3, he says, had Eggman take a blowtorch to Sally's metal body, and in parentheses he puts, more than likely he had her metal parts in a pile off screen, off issue if you will, before turning her into a super weapon. In other words, he's saying that Ian Flynn basically let Eggman use that blowtorch in the last panel of 232, I believe, to take Sally apart and turn her into what she is. And then he says, after that, after number 3, he says, that is kind of sick if you really think about it. Now, number 4. Hinted about killing a beloved comrade or family member in 234. Quotation, not quotation, but in parentheses, he says, granted, this is just a rumor, but something happens in 235 that eventually splits up the team. Whatever it is, it cannot be anything good. Now, number 5. The fifth reason, and it's the last reason he numbers, the last reason, alright, the last reason, and he numbers this, he says, had briefly, this is number 5, had briefly, or had hardly, I should say, had hardly any of her comrades affected by her now current absence. And parentheses, he puts in, wow. Or he kind of asks the question in parentheses, I guess you could say, wow, since when were the freedom fighters heartless individuals? Shouldn't they at least be a little shaken up by the sad turn of events, especially since she is the leader after all? Good point. Now he goes on to say, this cold attitude has Ian Flynn's meddling all over it, if you ask me. Secondly, Bunny being de-roboticized at nearly the almost exact same time is nothing short of a what the heck moment, or if you want to really be mature about it, a what the fuck moment. Seriously, how does Flynn think that's believable at all? You cannot just turn someone who many issues ago and they put in a quotation, or not quotation, but they put in parentheses, or whatever you want to call it, in parentheses, they acknowledge in parentheses, Sonic Super Special number 11, was told her cybernetic process would remove any chance of being restored to normal without many eyebrows raising, or arcing, as he puts it. And yet, Ian pulls a Deus Ex Machina moment here, basically saying in not so many words, and this is in parentheses or quotation. This is in quotation marks, and he puts in with quotations. Who cares about continuity? Who cares about continuity? I'm going to change the rules to fit my stories, unquote. And by basically putting these quotation marks in Archie Sonic Glue's own mind, they feel this is what Ian Flynn is saying. He's basically saying, hey, who cares about what happened in Sonic Super Special 11? I'm going to de-roboticize Bunny my way so it fits my story. Seriously, I think he does have a point there, folks. Seriously, I think has a point there. Now, okay, I had to let the cat back in, but anyway, he then asked the question to Ian, basically directly to Ian himself, a real class act, aren't you, Ian? And lastly, continuing on, Jeffrey's backstory in 233. I'm sorry, but again, Ian Flynn molded Jeffrey into his style of character because he could. Meeting Axis as a child to explain his out-of-nowhere Axis power some issues ago was nothing short of a, and he puts in quotations, yeah, right moment. Again, no mention or even reference to this whatsoever from his other moments in the comics. So basically he's saying that all the other moments that Jeffrey has had in the comics, whether they were good moments, bad moments, or whatever, never acknowledged that he ever met Nagas. Never. Creative liberties are fine and dandy when within certain boundaries, but this was not one of them. As I said, Ian changed the continuity to fit the characters to his liking. So you may be asking, quotations, in quotation marks he asked this question, why is Ian doing this? Why is he, in a sense, playing God with the story and the cast now? And that's a question asked in quotations, and basically they say, and basically this is the answer Archie Luz came up with. To give you a clear one-word answer, it's simply this: Other M. Ian is now molding Archie Sonic into another version of Other M because he's indeed the head writer. The man can lie all he wants in saying it was a bad story from the email that he sent to Game Boy Sage. But I know better. Ian Flynn loved that story, pure and simple. And you can see that there's a Game Boy Sage's avatar right there that put as a reference. Why else put reference after reference after reference of Other M in the official Sonic comic book and universe? He forgot to put universe, but that's okay. If he now looks back at the story with deep disgust. Because he doesn't. That's why I'm officially providing a link, as I mentioned in the beginning, at the top of the page so all Sonic fans can read this comic of his so that they too will see Ian Flynn for who he really is. He is not a Sonic fan, nor is he looking after its best interests. This is a man who wants to be remembered for all the carnage and chaos currently going on after his time as head writer is over. He even admitted that a while ago on a Sonic site. And yet this is the only negative. Archie Sonic Luz doesn't provide what Sonic site that was, so we can only guess. So if any of you believe Ian Flynn knows what he's doing, I strongly suggest you read his personal fan comic from years ago and then tell me honestly if you still trust the guy. And then he goes on to say with one final note, now that he doesn't want anybody sending him any vile flame comments on this journal entry, or they will be blocked, and that they can disagree with him if only respectfully. So does Archie Sonic Luz over at DA kind of have a point? Well, that's kind of up to argument, if you will, but they're not the only one. Another person came out as well. The other person that came out and discussed with Ian is another person at Deviantart, or DA I should call it, called Twilight Na. Twilight Na recently, about the same time, 2 days ago, said in their journal posting, they entitled it Sonic 230. They said they just recently looked at Sonic 230 and received a major shock. Sally roboticized, and they add Sally and they put ... roboticized, all in caps. You can see that right there, with three exclamation points at the end. And then they go on to say, this is Twilight Na, and I quote, "What the hell, Ian Flynn? Are you purposely trying to kill off fans' favorite characters? Just look what you've done to Nicole, the Brotherhood of Guardians, Sally," in caps for that one, Bunny, Hershey, Sonic, New Metropolis, Knuckles, Locke, and all the other things you, as they put it in caps, messed up. You better fix this mess, sir, or these fans are going to be steaming mad. And they ended by saying, this was Twilight Na speaking her mind in pure anger. And they do have another fan called I Am Nicole. That's right, someone named the Deviantart account or DA account after Nicole's Iron Dominion deal. And this I Am Nicole one says, and I quote, "I share the anger with you, Twilight Na. I was upset with all the events that took place since then. It's sad to think that I've been reading these books for 18 years and now the worst has happened. I was just like, WTH, what the hell? Why are you doing this to us?" So be back with part 2 and closing statements.